during this transition as well. Walk us through the process.
Well, you know what, this is what we're actually going to do. We're going to celebrate tonight. This is an extraordinary victory, and it's a time for us to come together and appreciate how far we've come. And in the days ahead, you'll be hearing more directly from Senator Obama, President-elect Obama, I should say, about the steps that he'll be taking to get prepared to lead on January 20th.
What does this mean to you personally as someone who's known Senator Obama for a long time?
It's hard to find the words to explain what this means to me. Of course, I've always known he was an extraordinary person, somebody of great intellect, judgment, and temperament that was even keel, and a kind, decent person, this core decency that I've appreciated in him over the 17 years that I've known him, and also known Michelle. But to see our country come alive the way it did, the energy and the enthusiasm, and there's so many people across our country who've become involved in this campaign. This campaign was really never about Barack Obama. It was about the American people. And the fact that they were willing to come together and work so hard to make this day happen just makes me feel like only in America could this happen.
Good point. Valerie, get some sleep tonight. Go ahead and celebrate because you got to work hard starting tomorrow in this transition.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Valerie Jarrett. Congratulations to you once again. Let's update you now on some of these close Senate races that we've been watching. In Georgia right now, look at this. Senator Saxby Chambliss, he's slightly ahead, 51 to 46% over his challenger in Georgia, Jim Martin, 46%, 97% of the vote in. Remember, this is a state where you need to get a majority of more than 50% in order to be elected. There's a third-party candidate there. If he stays at 51%, and it looks like he might, Saxby Chambliss would hold on to that seat. That would be very important for the Republicans. In Minnesota, Norm Coleman slightly ahead of Al Franken right now with 71% of the vote now in. There is a third-party candidate in Minnesota as well, Dean Barkley, the independent candidate. You don't need a majority in Minnesota, so if Coleman holds on to that 43% to 41% lead, he would be reelected in Minnesota, but it's not over with yet. They still have lots of votes to count. And take a look at this. In the state of Oregon, it's been really, really tight. Gordon Smith, the incumbent Republican, he's slightly behind Dean Merkley, the Democratic challenger, 41% of the vote in, but it's obviously still early. Plenty of opportunities for those numbers to change. We'll watch those closely. I want to show you some other races that we've already projected some winners, and I'm going to go back here. First of all, as some of you know, North Carolina. Right now, Elizabeth Dole, the Republican senator, she loses to Kay Hagan right now with 99% of the vote in, 53% for Kay Hagan, and that's enough. Look at John Sununu. He loses in New Hampshire, the incumbent Republican, to the former Democratic governor, Jeanne Shaheen, 72% of the vote now in New Hampshire. In Kentucky, the Republican incumbent, the minority leader, Mitch McConnell, he manages to hold on and win and get reelected in a relatively close race. Bruce Lunsford losing. In Colorado right now, Mark Udall, a congressman, he's going to be elected. The senator, that's a Democratic pickup, replacing an incumbent Republican who decided not to run again. And in New Mexico, his cousin, Tom Udall, he's going to be elected as well, another Democratic pickup. That's the seat that Pete Domenici gave up in New Mexico. And in the state of Maine, there will be the Republican incumbent, Susan Collins. She will stay in. She has been reelected in Maine. And in Louisiana, the Democrat incumbent, Mary Landrieu, she had a very tough race from John Kennedy, but she manages to hold on as well with 52%. In Mississippi, Thad Cochran, the incumbent Republican, he holds on, wins relatively easily there, as you can see. So it doesn't look like the Democrats are going to be able to get up to that 60 majority, filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, because these vulnerable Republicans, several of them, as you just saw, managed to hold on. But there will be a significant pickup in the Democratic majority. Right now, it's 51 to 49, and it's going to go up. The balance of power, we're going to take a look at that.
And Wolf, we do want to take a look at that. You had mentioned Louisiana. Mary Landrieu is keeping her seat there. That was the one seat that Democrats were really defending. The rest, Republican seats that have been shaky. John King, walk us through it. What we know now, as Wolf said, Democrats were trying to get to that magic number of 60. Doesn't look like they're going to do it.
Doesn't look like it. We'll show you the stakes so far, and those watching at home say, why does it matter so much? It matters hugely if you're President-elect Barack Obama and you're trying to get an agenda through the Congress. You want to know, number one, how many Democratic votes you have. You also want to know how much pressure you're going to come under from your own party trying to push things through. Before we go through the numbers, let's bring back your friend, Campbell. That would be the virtual Capitol, and put it on the table there. And let's start with the Senate. As we see, let's bring the Senate up and take a peek. As you watch this fill, and this is where we began the night. 51 Democrats, 49 Republicans. But here's what we know so far. Wolf just went through all those results, and this is what you get at the end of that, 56 to 40. So the Democrats +5, assuming Joe Lieberman stays in their caucus, and we'll deal with that down the road a little bit. But 4 races. You see the white tiles in the middle there, the Alaska race. That's Senator Ted Stevens, the longest-serving Republican in the Senate. Most believe this seat will go Democratic, but we're waiting. The polls are still open in the state of Alaska. Ted Stevens convicted just last week of 7 corruption charges. Democrats may pick up that one. That would give them, let's say for the hypothetical that they win that one. I just want to show how hard it is to get to 60. That's one they think they can get. This one, Wolf just talked about. Saxby Shambles is ahead. The question is, when the absentee ballots are counted, will he stay above 50%? So we'll leave this one as undecided for now and put it back. A very tight race out here in Oregon. Gordon Smith ahead at the moment, as Wolf just said, although I'm looking at updated results now, show the Democratic challenger slightly ahead at the moment. So we'll watch this one as these come in. But even if Democrats won them all, they would just get to 60. In Minnesota, of course, we've showed that earlier, Norm Coleman eking it out. The Democrats would have to win all of these left, Campbell, on the board, which at the moment appears unlikely, but we'll watch them as they come in. And then there is that one other question, what happens to Joe Lieberman? He is here. He is an independent who caucuses with the Democrats. Many Democrats would like to kick him out of the caucus because of his open support for John McCain, but
and
more
And
importantly...
he hasn't really been caucusing with them lately either, Lieberman.
He has not been caucusing with them lately. He has not been caucusing with them. He hasn't been back in the Senate for some time. But he not only did he campaign for his friend John McCain, most Democrats understood that, but he was very harsh at the convention and in some of his public speeches about Barack Obama, who is now the president-elect of the United States. If the Democrats get to 59 and Joe Lieberman would be 60, and again, we're waiting for Minnesota, Oregon, Georgia, and I hypothetically called Alaska, but that's not really done, so we'll put that back there. And if they can get to 60, including Joe Lieberman, there'll be a lot of pressure to keep him there. But Dana Bash reporting a little bit earlier that Harry Reid, the Democratic leader, will have a meeting with him later in the week, and they will see what to do with that situation. A lot of pressure on Harry Reid to at least strip him of his chairmanship that he has, and many would like to kick him out of the caucus. So that's what we see. Democrats will have at least 56, and potentially 57, 58, 60 looks like a dream. And quickly, Campbell, I just want to bring up the House numbers, and we can switch the screens here and show you the House. And this is where we were at the beginning of the night, 236 to 199. A lot of counting to go on here in the House races. We do know they will pick up, the Democrats will, a minimum of 16 seats. So Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker, will have a bigger Democratic majority of at least 252 Democrats. We expect that number to actually go a bit higher, perhaps substantially higher, but we know now, as we go through the 435 House races across the country, the Democrats will pick up at least 16. Some, Campbell, think that number will go in excess of 25 or even higher. We'll count those votes as we go on through the night.
So a lot of wind at Barack Obama's back as they actually try to get down to the business of governing based on the numbers we're looking at right now.
It is a blessing to have more Democrats to put your agenda through. It also could be a little pressure. The expectations on Barack Obama, one of the big tests, the first test will be, will he stand up to his own party if they try to push things that perhaps the middle of the country or the more conservative Democrats and the Republicans he promises to reach out to. That will be one of the fascinating dynamics we'll watch it play out for 70 days, a little more than that, until he's actually the president, and then, of course, once he is.
First 100 days. All right, John King for us, and let's turn back to Wolf. Wolf?
Thanks very much. Alaska, by the way, Campbell, Alaska has now closed the polls. That means that polls all over the United States are now closed. It's just after 1 a.m. here on the East Coast, and Alaska, it's now official. That state is closed. We're watching, by the way, as John mentioned, an important Senate race there. The incumbent Ted Stevens, who's been convicted on those felony counts, he's facing very tough challenge from the popular mayor of Anchorage, Mark Begich. We'll update you on what we know on that race because that could affect, obviously, the balance of power. Ted Stevens, the longest-serving Republican in the United States Senate. Look at these pictures from Pennsylvania Avenue, just outside the White House. These are live pictures you're seeing right now. They're coming in. Folks have gathered in the District of Columbia right outside the White House. to express their joy at Barack Obama's election tonight, and they're making that very, very clear. Just after 1 a.m. on the East Coast, and lots of people have gathered at the White House to celebrate the election of Barack Obama. We'll take a quick break. We'll continue our coverage right after this.
Coverage of America Votes 2008 is sponsored by the American Coalition for Clean Coal Electricity and by the Society for Human Resource Management. Meeting the challenges of a changing world. Visit the Election Center at cnn.com/election for in-depth information on the candidates.